So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another album review of the Shield Dude on a Couch. So, my second album review for this weekend, I put a poll and people wanted me to cover first Winter Song, but initially I didn't know I was gonna cover Winter Song. I thought I was just gonna do Leprous. So, I'm talking about Leprous' eighth album called Melodies of Atonement. So, for those of you that don't know Leprous, they started as a progressive metal band. They're from Norway, and they had some influence from Tool as well. And I remember the first album I listened to them was Cold, and then Congregation of the Damned. But then the band had a shift in sound in 2017, and that year they put out an album called Malina, and it was more progressive rock. And they added more like sounds that were not necessarily metal, electronics, and pop sensibilities. And on previous releases like Pitfalls, they went further in that rabbit hole. I remember Pitfalls being more focused on singing, and sometimes the music was very stripped back. It was okay. I enjoyed it somehow. And Aphelion, they kept doing that. So, their first albums are more metal, progressive oriented, and now they're more like prog rock with different, sensibilities. And on this one, the new album Melodies of Atonement, I believe this is their most accessible album yet, because it's really, there's pop sensibilities, there's electronics, there's the singing for Einar Solberg. It's great. He had a solo album the last year, and I think this he sounds more on these albums like the style that he does on his solo records, which is there's some rock to it, but it's more like the main focus is his singing abilities. And I can see why they do that, because Einars has a great voice, a great range, and I think he's one of the standouts for me with Leprous. I actually, when I was living in Florida, I got to see Leprous and Haken in a concert, and both bands were great, but I was blown away by Leprous. The way they use the keyboards on stage, the power of the bass and the voice, it was just great. And it was for that Malina tour. I saw them way back in 2019, I believe. And yeah, I really love seeing them live. And this is an album that is 10 songs, 53 minutes, and it's all about pacing. It can be a slow record at times. Sometimes it takes time to take off. So this is not immediate love type of album. This is a grower. You have to listen to it a lot to get some nuances and maybe get in the mood of this record. Because something I did realize with these 10 songs is it's that they almost have like a different tone to them. Most of them start really slow, and then you focus on Einar's voice, and then there's a part where there's a big crescendo with the music, and maybe some a very clean guitars that soar above the music. And Einar does a lot of whoa and over the top singing at times, and it's worked in the past for them. But there's some songs here that the tone, and when he was doing that, to me, I don't know, the flow was kind of weird. And I have a few examples of them. The song My Spectre, and I hear the sirens, especially My Spectre. My Spectre is super slow. It's almost like the first 2 minutes is so slow that I kind of drifted away a little bit in that song, and that's the first song on the record. But then there's a part where Einar goes with the whoa, but the tone of the music doesn't match what he's singing at times. So I thought it was weird. And the same thing happens with I Hear the Sirens. You have that like super slow, but then there's a part when there's some great guitar melodies and this vocal soar, and you kind of wake up a little bit. I gotta say that the singles from this album I think are the best songs. Silently Walking Alone, Atonement, and Like a Sunken Ship to me are the standouts. I can see why they picked them as singles. Silently Walking Away is more energetic to start the record, and I like the bass sound, the dum, ba-da-bum, that they do, and the Silently Walking Alone. It's just great and very emotional. So it's a great album started, and Atonement is really interesting as well, even though it can be slower at times. But I think on that one, the payoff for that song is better. Then, like I said, My Spectre, I Hear the Sirens kind of like dips a little bit for me. Like I nodded off a little bit on those songs. But then it goes into what I think it's the only track on the record that has some growling, which was much needed. And it's like in the middle with Like a Sunken Ship. And the part where you get Einard growling, it really reminded you of like older Leprous. And they said on press releases that this was going to be more of a return to the old style of Leprous, because something that is missing in this album that they did have in Pitfalls and Aphelion is like they had a lot of orchestration going with some electronics, and on this one there's no orchestration. They stripped that away, so it's more, I would say this has more of an electronic pop sensibility to the music. So to me this is almost like a progressive pop record with some guitars. That's how I would say. But Like a Sunken Ship is the most metal that they get, and I think it's a great part because it really kind of wakes you up after two songs that are kind of slow. But then again, they go into a slower song with Limbo, and again I nodded off a little bit with this one because it went slower again, and you got the electronics, and at some point in the song it gets a little bit more lively, but it takes too long to get there. Then you have a song like Faceless, which I think this one has the most over-the-top singing of the whole record. There's a part where he's like, faceless, whoa, and like it's really over the top, and I think just a little bit too much over the top, borderline on cheesiness effect on that track. So I thought that the over the top singing on that one kind of like put me off a little bit. Then the album, it keeps it very like same sounding with Starlight, Self-Satisfied Lullaby, again, very slow, and sometimes it wakes up. Self-Satisfied Lullaby, it's like almost one of the slowest songs on the record, and it feels like a lullaby. But at the last minute, it has a great guitar part, but it's like at the end, it's like you need to like listen to 4 minutes before you get a little bit of variation. And the album ends with On Free My Soul, which again follows that same type of formula. So I would say in conclusion, this is not an album that it's not bad. Leprous are excellent musicians. There's no denying that the musical chops that Leprous has, they're one of the best progressive acts right now. I would like them. I would like more of that old sound, because I remember Malina when it came out. I liked it because it was a little different. But now it seems like they're stuck. I would say not stuck, but what I would say is like they're in a comfort zone, and like, okay, this works for us. Let's focus on Einar's voice and this type of sound. So to me it's a little bit more of the same. So I think the album lacks a little bit of experimentation. So I would like them they can have this type of sound, but come on, like more of their older stuff. Like they could do like a mix of everything, and maybe get a little bit out of that comfort zone. And I think it would have like my friend Notes Reviews would say, a bigger payoff, which this album unfortunately does not. You know, it's still not a bad record, and you should not sleep on it. And sometimes even Leprous, like lesser good albums, are way better than most of the shit that's out there right now. So I'm still a fan of Leprous, but yeah, this is an album that is a grower, and like it's an album that you should listen to if you're very awake, because sometimes it is a little bit too slow for me. But I want to know from you, Couchers, what did you think of Melodies of Atonement by Leprous? What are your favorite tracks? Comment down below. And if you like the videos that I'm putting out, do not forget to give me a like, and do not forget to subscribe. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm to get to more people like yourself. So until next time, Couchers, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on the Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.